We are going to talk about something that is going to hurt you, but you need it. You have been lied to forever. They have made you believe that what you feel is love, when it is really fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. Fear of not being loved. Fear of not having someone who validates you, who makes you feel like you are worth something. But tell me the truth. What would happen if that person disappeared tomorrow? Would you still feel complete, or would you crumble like a poorly built structure, which only stood up thanks to the presence of another? That knot in your stomach, that tremble in your hands when a message is not answered, that insomnia that makes you check their last connection time and again. That is not love. It is anxiety disguised. It is attachment. It is emotional dependency. And the worst of all, you confuse it with love because no one taught you to love without needing. Carl Jung said it brutally. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But you are not transforming. You are getting lost. You are molding yourself in the image of another so that they do not leave. You are reducing yourself, denying yourself, betraying yourself, because it terrifies you that the other might not choose you. Because you believe that without them, you are nothing. Here is the truth you do not want to hear. It is not love, what you feel. It is an addiction. You are hooked on the other as someone hooks on a drug, because it makes you feel something that you alone do not know how to give yourself. Because it calms a void that you do not even dare to face head on. Do you know what attachment is? It is the illusion that you need someone to survive. It is that internal whisper that tells you, without them, I die. But you do not die. You face it. You rebuild yourself. You transform. Because absence, when you know how to look at it with brave eyes, becomes your greatest teacher. Attachment is fear. Love is freedom. Attachment chains you. Love expands you. And as long as you do not understand that difference, you will continue to confuse cages with hugs. You will continue to believe that to love is to possess, to hold, to secure. But true love does not need locks. It does not need eternal promises. It does not need certainties. Jung understood this. He knew that the human being projects their voids onto others, that they seek outside what they lack inside. And that is why attachment is so common, because we live with open wounds that we try to close with someone else's skin. We become emotional vampires, absorbing the other's energy, feeding off their presence to avoid looking at our own lack. But there is a turning point, a moment when you hit rock bottom, when you realize that the love you thought you had is not saving you, it is sinking you. And there begins the detachment, not as a cold renunciation, not as an emotional disconnection, but as a profound act of self-love. Detaching is not ceasing to love. It is starting to love without chains. It is letting go of the fear of loss. It is understanding that authentic love does not demand permanence, nor sacrifices that destroy your essence. Authentic love invites you to be more you, not less, to grow, not to diminish, to fly, not to stay still. Detachment is internal revolution. It is telling fear, you no longer command. It is looking into the void and not trembling. It is understanding that you do not need anyone to feel complete because you already are, even if you do not yet know it. even if you still find it hard to see. And yes, it will hurt. The process of letting go hurts like tearing off a part of the soul because you have lived so long believing that the other was indispensable, that you forgot how to walk alone. But believe me, it is possible. And when you achieve it, when you truly free yourself, everything changes. Not because the world changes, but because you no longer see it from lack, but from fullness. Detaching is not closing the heart, it is opening it, but without conditions. It is loving without fear. It is saying, I love you, but I do not need you to be happy. And that, although it sounds contradictory, is the greatest act of love you can offer. Because then you love without pressure, without manipulation, without expectations. You truly love. Jung spoke of the process of individuation, a path of self-discovery in which you integrate yourself, get to know yourself, become one with yourself. And from that place, you can relate without losing yourself. You can share without needing. You can love without depending. Because you are no longer empty. You are no longer broken. You are no longer looking for someone to complete you. You are choosing to share what you already are, not what you lack. But that requires courage, because attachment is comfortable, although it hurts. It is familiar. Detachment, on the other hand, throws you into the abyss. It forces you to confront yourself. It leaves you alone with your shadows. And that is where many stop, because they prefer the known prison to the emptiness of freedom. But do you know what lies beyond the abyss? Peace. A peace that does not depend on anyone. A stability that does not wobble with absences. A love that is born from within and projects outward, not the other way around. And then you understand. You understand that letting go is not losing. It is recovering. Recovering yourself, rebuilding yourself, reconnecting with your power, with your essence, with your true self. True love does not hurt. It does not distress. It does not manipulate. It does not demand that you renounce yourself to maintain it. If it hurts, if it makes you feel small, if it robs you of peace, it is not love. It is attachment. And that bond, no matter how much it is disguised as romance, is an emotional prison. Do you want to truly love? Learn to be alone. Learn to embrace your solitude. Get to know your dark corners. Sustain yourself when everything falls. Do not depend on the reflection of another to see yourself. Only then can you look someone in the eyes and say, I choose you, but I do not need you. And that is brutal, because most do not love. They cling. They cling to another, not to face themselves, to not feel the vertigo of their own lack of self-love. And so they live tied, dependent, broken, confusing love with suffering, intensity with authenticity, passion with dependence. But there is another path, more difficult, yes, but truer. The path of conscious detachment, the path of emotional freedom, the path that leads you to love from abundance, not from lack. Look inside. Ask yourself, why does letting go hurt so much? What part of me do I believe dies if the other leaves? What void am I trying to fill? And there, right there, is the root of your attachment. Rip it out. Not with anger, with compassion, with love, with patience. Because it is not about hating the other. It is about loving yourself enough not to depend on anyone to feel that you exist. And that, although it hurts at first, is the purest form of love that exists. Remember this, love is not possession. It is free presence. It is voluntary companionship. It is dance, not chain. If you have to retain, force, or control, it is not love, it is fear. And fear does not build, it destroys. So let go. Let go with dignity. Let go with love. Let go knowing that letting go is not losing, it is choosing yourself. And when you choose yourself, when you embrace yourself, when you stop searching outside what you already carry within, the world changes because you no longer beg for love. You no longer accept crumbs. You no longer cling to someone who cannot sustain you. You no longer lose yourself in the other. Now you have yourself. And that is the most powerful thing you can achieve. Detachment is not coldness. It is emotional maturity. It is awareness. It is knowing that everything that arrives can leave and still be at peace. It is understanding that true security is not in the other. It is in you. And from that security, you can love without fear. You can open up without demands. You can share without losing yourself, because you are no longer looking for someone to complete you. You are choosing to share your fullness. That is the message. Brutal, yes. Painful also, but necessary. Because as long as you keep calling your need love, you will remain trapped. You will continue to suffer. You will continue to repeat patterns that only destroy you. It is time to wake up, to look attachment in the eyes and say, I no longer need you. It is time to walk toward real love. A love that does not chain, that does not demand, that does not consume. A love that liberates, that accompanies, that builds. And that love begins with you. Not with another, with you, in you. Because when you are okay with yourself, everything else falls into place. Everything else aligns. And then, yes, you can truly love. And now I want you to think about this. What if emotional attachment not only distorts your idea of love, but also distorts who you are? Because here comes an uncomfortable truth. When you attach to someone, you unconsciously start to mold yourself to fit their expectations. You stop being you to be what you think the other needs. You become an edited version of yourself. And do you know what is most tragic about that? Many times, not even the other asked you for it. You did it out of fear, out of that unconscious impulse that if you do not adapt, they abandon you. And here we enter into something deeply Jungian, the shadow, that repressed part of you that you do not show, that you hide, that you ignore, but that is still there. When attachment comes into play, you start building relationships from the mask, from the character, showing only what you believe the other can accept, and leaving out your wounds, your real desires, your authenticity. And although that keeps you linked, it disintegrates you inside. Emotional dependency not only ties you to the other, it distances you from you. You lose your center. You forget your own limits. You stop listening to your intuition. You start living according to the other. If they are okay, you are okay. If they move away, you crumble. You become a reflection, not a person, an echo of someone else's emotions. What happens when you become that echo? You empty yourself. You start to live with chronic anxiety, but disguised as love. Every decision, every word, every silence of the other becomes a test, a threat, because your emotional stability no longer depends on you, but on someone else. And that is very dangerous, because no one, absolutely no one, has the obligation to sustain your inner world. Here is where relational neurosis appears, a concept not much talked about, but very real. It is that state in which your romantic links become scenarios of cyclical suffering, and you repeat it without realizing it, because the pattern is engraved in your subconscious. Jung knew it. Everything that we do not make conscious manifests in our life as destiny. And you repeat the same type of relationship again and again. Different faces, same story. Relationships where you love from the need, where you sacrifice yourself to be loved, where fear is the true engine. But there is something even darker: idealization, that distortion you create when you put the other on a pedestal. You are not seeing the real person. You are seeing an image that you projected. And the higher you place them, the smaller you become. And here, everything breaks, because love needs equality. And when you minimize yourself, the link ceases to be loving and becomes emotional servitude. So what is the way out? Going inward, toward the uncomfortable, toward that corner where your misunderstood solitude dwells. Because if you are not capable of being with yourself, you will continue searching for someone else to do it for you. And the worst, you will demand it. You will become demanding, controlling, insecure, not because you're bad, but because you're hurt. And you are trying to use love as a bandage when what you need is emotional surgery. Jung spoke of the integration of the anima and animus, the internal feminine and masculine energies that we all carry. When they are not integrated, we search outside what we lack inside, and that search leads us to attachment. But when you do the internal work, when you recognize yourself as complete, without needing another to complement you, there occurs the miracle. You start to link from desire, not from need, from choice, not from fear, from awareness, not from lack. And then love changes shape. It ceases to be urgency and becomes expansion. You no longer seek that the other saves you. You seek that the other walks with you. You no longer demand, you propose. You no longer retain, you share. Because you no longer love from hunger, you love from abundance. But getting there involves crossing a desert. The desert of detachment. An arid space, lonely, full of mirrors where you face yourself, where you cannot blame anyone, where you have to look at yourself with brutal honesty and say, "This is not love. This is fear of being alone." And that phrase, although it hurts, is the beginning of your freedom. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You can no longer settle for mediocre relationships. You can no longer continue confusing intensity with love. You can no longer continue sacrificing your peace for the company of someone who does not even see you. You have awakened. And although that implies losing people, it also implies recovering yourself. And it is here where the process becomes sacred, because you understand that detachment is not coldness, it is healing. It is not indifference. It is respect for yourself. It is not resignation. It is choice. It is saying, "I love you, but not at the cost of myself." It is having the maturity to let go of what does not add to you, even if it hurts. It is stopping negotiating your value for a dose of attention. And something brutal happens when you achieve it. Your emotional vibration changes, and you start to attract different bonds. People who do not seek to complete you, but to accompany you. Who do not need you, but choose you. Who do not absorb you, but empower you. Because you are no longer vibrating from lack, but from integrity. And here comes the most upsetting and most beautiful thing at the same time. Many will leave. Many will not know how to love your freedom. Many will not withstand that you do not need them, because they are used to being someone's oxygen. And when they see you breathe alone, they feel useless. But that is not your problem. Your only responsibility is with yourself. This is the true path of transformation. When you stop begging for love and start becoming it. When you no longer seek someone to embrace you to not feel alone, because you learn to embrace yourself. When silence is no longer an enemy, but a temple. When you discover that your value was never in the gaze of another, but in how you look at yourself when no one sees you. And yes, there will be relapses, because we are human, because the fear of loneliness does not disappear overnight. But every time you choose your peace over the company that breaks you, you are rewriting your history. And that is power. That is love. That is freedom. Do you want to truly love? Stop asking to be completed. Start completing yourself. And from there, share. Because authentic love does not need chains, only wings. Wings to fly together or separately, but always in peace. Because real love does not tie. It accompanies. And that is what really matters. And if you have gotten this far, it is because something inside you knows it. Because there is an internal voice, very small perhaps, silenced for years, that starts to scream from the depths. Enough. This is not love. This is breaking me. And that voice, no matter how much you try to silence it with excuses, with empty promises, with the maybe they will change, with the it's not that bad, that voice will no longer be silenced. Now we go deeper. We go to the origin. Because emotional attachment does not begin in the present relationship. It is not the fault of the other. It started much earlier. It started in your childhood. In that first moment, when someone, perhaps unintentionally, taught you that to be loved, you had to do something in return. Be good, be calm, be useful, be perfect, be invisible, adapt. Do not bother. Do not cry too much. Do not get angry. Do not be yourself. From that moment, you learned that love came with conditions, that to receive it, you first had to deserve it. And that's where it all began. The adult who suffers for love today is the child who never felt enough. And here is the real wound. It is not the other who breaks you. It is you repeating the script you learned when you still did not know how to name your emotions. Jung called it the wounded inner child. And it is not a cheesy metaphor. It is a psychic reality. That child lives inside you. And if you do not listen to them, they take control. They make you act from pain, not from awareness. They make you cling, beg, tolerate the intolerable, just to not relive that original wound of abandonment. But there is more, because when you do not heal that, you fall into another fatal error. You fall in love with the potential, not with the reality. You see in the other not what they are, but what they could be if they changed. And you cling to that future image as if it were a salvation. When they mature, when they understand, when they stop doing this or that. And so you become a hostage of a promise that never materializes. You live trapped in a relationship with someone who only exists in your head. Meanwhile, you postpone. You postpone your dreams. You postpone your dignity. You tell yourself, just a little more. But that little becomes years. And when you finally open your eyes, you realize that the most valuable time you had, you invested in a relationship that only existed in your hope. That is the most cruel part of attachment. It steals the present in the name of a future that never arrives. But we go further because attachment has another face, even harder to see. It makes you addicted to drama. Yes, you read that right. There are people who feel empty and calm because they have lived so long on the emotional roller coaster that healthy love seems boring to them. Intensity becomes the measure of love. If there are no jealousy, no arguments, no breakups, no tearful reconciliations, they feel something is missing. And that is a brutal trap, because emotional chaos is adrenaline. And like all adrenaline, it hooks, but it does not build. It only wears out. Have you noticed how sometimes you reject those who love you well? Those who do not demand that you break yourself to deserve it. Those who give without asking you for anything. Why? Because your emotional system is used to pain. Because you do not know how to receive without paying with suffering. Because you do not know what to do when there is no fight. And that too is attachment. An attachment to pain, to the known, to what destroys you, but feels familiar. So how do you break the cycle? First, by becoming aware. Stop justifying what hurts. Stop romanticizing what makes you small. No, jealousy is not love. No, suffering does not validate the intensity of a relationship. No, loving should not cost you mental health. Second, stop looking for solutions outside. Stop waiting for the other to change, to value you, to realize what they have. Start looking at yourself, because the love you demand is the love you do not give yourself. Here comes a forgotten but vital concept: self-affirmation. Being able to say, "This is what I am. This is what I feel. This is what I need. This is what I do not tolerate." And maintaining it, even if that means losing the other. Because losing someone who cannot love what you are is not a loss. It is a blessing. But you do not see it until you learn to stand alone, until your value does not depend on the echo you receive, but on the strength you generate from within. And now we go with something more existential. What if love was not a goal, but a consequence? What if what you really have to search for is not a partner, but an internal integration? Because when you are aligned with yourself, what comes from outside no longer unbalances you. It does not come to complete you, but to add up. And if it goes, it does not destroy you. It moves you, yes. It hurts you, of course. But it does not break you, because you are already whole. Jung spoke of the self as the core of your deepest identity, a center that is not altered by external wind. When you live from that center, you no longer need to be approved, validated, or sustained by another. You become your own anchor. And from there, any relationship you build will be free, freer, cleaner, truer, because it does not arise from emptiness, but from the meeting between two complete beings. And yes, this sounds nice, but the path is hard. You will cry. You will want to go back. You will miss even what hurt you, because your mind is conditioned to seek the known, even if it breaks you. But every time you choose your peace over the drama, every time you embrace yourself in the midst of emptiness, you are freeing yourself. You are reprogramming your emotional history. You are stopping to repeat the wound and starting to write from the scar. And the most upsetting thing is this: you will have to accept that not everyone you love is prepared to love you back. You will have to look someone in the eyes and recognize that it is not their fault, nor yours. It simply is not. It does not fit. it does not flow. And letting go is not failing. It is maturing. It is recognizing that loving also means knowing when to stop, when to close the door, when to let go. Not because you do not love, but because you love yourself. That is real detachment, not resignation, not coldness, not indifference, but love in its purest state. Love that allows itself to leave when staying means ceasing to be oneself. And when you reach there, something inside you is released forever, because you discover that your greatest love story is not with another person. It is with you, with your process, with your growth, with your freedom. And from that place, everything else is transformed. And now that we have traveled this labyrinth together, I want to take you to the end point, but not to close, to open your eyes in a way that perhaps no one has dared before. Look, I am going to tell you something that probably no one has told you like this, with this harshness. The love of your life is not a person. It never was. The love of your life is your path, your evolution, your consciousness. The love of your life is you. When you finally stop betraying yourself. And what you call loss is often the way life rips out what no longer makes sense. What is holding you back? What prevents you from blossoming? But of course it hurts. It hurts to detach. It hurts to stay alone with oneself. It hurts to look around and see that the person who filled your mind and body is no longer there. But what if that pain were necessary? What if it were the fever before healing? Because yes, detachment burns. But what comes after is clarity, a brutal clarity, the clean gaze, the silent soul, the heart finally breathing without chains. Because here goes something that few understand. It is not the same to be alone as to feel empty. Being alone is a state. Feeling empty is a wound. And when you heal that wound, solitude stops being a punishment. It becomes a temple, a refuge, a sacred place where you can finally listen to yourself without the noise of the world. And then something almost mystical happens. You no longer need to beg for love. You no longer chase anyone, because you realize that no one is as valuable as your peace. No one is worth enough to make you lose yourself, to retain them, because you did not come to this life to beg. You came to create, to discover yourself, to rise. And if someone wants to walk with you, great, but if not, you continue. Not out of pride, just out of awareness. So keep this in mind. Love is not what ties you. It is what allows you to let go. True love is not that intense connection that makes you feel alive one second and dead the next. True love is the one that does not need to shout to be felt. The one that does not demand absurd sacrifices. The one that does not make you choose between you and the other. True love does not hurt. What hurts is attachment, the idea, the fantasy, the resistance. And now that you know, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to continue living in dependency, or are you going to dare to cross the bridge to you? Because the path begins there, just when you decide to stop begging for love and start cultivating it within you. If you have reached this point, if you have felt even a single sentence pierce you like an invisible knife, I have a proposal for you. Go down to the comments and write this sentence as a commitment to yourself. I choose my peace over fear. Write it, not for me, for you, so that you do not forget, so that every time you feel weak again, you remember this decision. And yes, if this message resonated and you want more truth without anesthetic, remember who's speaking with you. This is Psyche Nomad, where we turn shadow into clarity and dependency into inner power. Stay awake, stay honest, and keep walking. Now I say goodbye, but not with a goodbye. No, I say goodbye with a warning. From this moment, you will no longer be able to love the same. You will no longer be able to relate the same, because now you know, now you see. And once you see the truth, there is no going back. See you in the next video. Or rather, we meet where it matters most, inside you.